So good, so good, so good.
Just in and so good. Thousands of spring finds up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means thousands of fresh reasons to rack.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
Vince, Calvin Klein, Rag & Bone?
Obsessed. Why do we rock? For the hottest deals.
Save on Madewell, Kate Spade New York, Sam Edelman, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Business taxes. We're stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
It's really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby. Top 14 Pro League National, Les Bleus, of course, at this time of year, Champions Cup, Challenge Cup, and, well, have I covered Pro League? I think I have. There's so much rugby going on.
National.
I just don't know where to start. National will, of course, be shouting out National. The towns, cities, bars, restaurants, fans, music, everything that makes the French game so fabulous. I've lost my way there, but it's been a chaotic few days. Rob, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right today. More worried about how you are after your weekend.
Well, yeah, I'm good now. For the listeners eager to know what that means, it doesn't mean, hungover trips from Italy or anything like that. We had a very nice weekend, or a very nice wedding down in the Cotswolds this weekend. Slightly kiboshed by the fact that I, depending on who you listen to, if you believe the rumours, managed to leave my wife's suitcase on the train to said wedding. Only discovered the loss about 40 minutes after we'd got off the train, and then full meltdown ensues on both sides, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, was not hugely fun. But we adapt. We move. We made the wedding. It all came out in the wash. But
outfits were purchased from what? An M&S and a business park in Swindon, weren't they?
Correct. Yeah. So
nice.
My initial reaction was, we were staying in Cirencester, which I've never been to before. Looked quite pretty, quite well to do. And I think my initial reaction was, right, this is obviously a disaster. However, there'll be plenty of shops in the morning, and we had a look, and it was, if I wanted to get Claudia a nice pair of riding boots and a Jules fleece to, is it Jules? We'll go Jules. We're a French rugby podcast. Jules, a Jules Plisson fleece, a Jules Fleisson, if you will.
No, I'm not having it. I mean, it's good, but that's cringe. That's cringe.
Yeah, there was nothing, so we ended up having to get a taxi to Swindon Orbital Retail Park, and scurrying around.
How far is that taxi?
It's only about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of on the north edge of Swindon, as if I know. I've never been before, but we got there. But it was not, I wouldn't say it was the most relaxing 24 hours, it has to be said. But the wedding itself was great fun, and we made it back in one piece, and we're still together just. So,
excellent news.
Yeah. How about you? I gather you've been on a bit of a shopping spree of your own, Rob.
Not yet, but I have emailed the boutique at Section Paloise to see what the options are for overseas shipping. There doesn't appear to be any, but some of the Christmas items are just glorious. I am also obviously still riding high on the fact that someone in a wine bar in Southeast London, a Frenchman in a wine bar in Southeast London, shout out Dynamic Vines, which is very, very good. Thought that I was from France because I dressed like a Toulouse rugby boy. I was wearing a Toulouse hat, which helps, but he said my general style was just like how Toulouse rugby boys dress. As in, like, I assume like people that are into it, not just. I'm not dressing like Antoine Dupont or Roman Ntamack. I'm definitely not dressing like Antoine Dupont or Roman Ntamack. But yeah, that's life made.
What were you wearing though? That might not be a compliment.
My standard variation on a theme, Richard. Round neck jumper, chinos, white socks, white shoes. Apparently the round glasses helped as well. Apparently that's very Toulousain.
There we go. Yeah, you did send me a snapshot of your shopping basket. You should have asked one of the Newcastle guys. I'm sure there were a few Falcons fans there over the weekend. Little, I don't know.
Could ask the other Rob Graham to the Rugby Pod Rob Graham. Not that we're not going to mention another podcast, but yeah, the producer of the Rugby Pod is also called Rob Graham. So I'm not even the biggest Rob Graham in rugby podcasting.
Yeah, you got a little way to go. So you are right. There's a nice kit in there. Probably, although if you did secure all of it, you'd probably have more stash than some of the Poe players, which maybe is over-egging it slightly. But I did like
more green stash, certainly. That the Bernays kit, as cool as it is, it was quite took some getting your eyes round, didn't it? Yeah.
It's a bit odd. Good win though for your boys in the Challenge Cup against high-flying Newcastle.
Slightly flattered by a late interception, I think, for Elliot Rudil. Steve Diamond wasn't particularly happy to come away with no points, but yeah, pretty good win. I'll take that. Pretty good win for France all round. I think the only team that lost in the Challenge Cup, Richard, was the team that you backed to win it.
Oh, well, it'll be an early loss. It'll be like
the loss they needed to have. Yeah,
because they did send they sent a slightly ropey side, didn't they?
Mako Vinipola was in Créteil watching Racing, so
perhaps as expected, but yeah, little bit disappointed. It's a long way to go to lose by 3 points or whatever it is as well. You might as well get absolutely hammered, rather than come that close. But never mind.
It was much closer to the side we used to see last year in Pro Day. That was tearing up, a lot of the kind of younger French guys in that back line, certainly. Anyway, but
they'll be ready and raring for Gloucester this week. The other Challenge Cup we sort of segued naturally there into the Challenge Cup was the Cheetahs Perpignan.
Yeah,
which was a draw
in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I wonder how you settle. How do you reckon they settle that in like a Heineken boat race or something afterwards?
I don't know, but I saw some shenanigans of kind of post match, that kind of classic, not boat race, but the kind of rowing crowd surfing thing going on with some Perpignan fans. So good that they brought a bit of French looseness to already quite a loose city.
I was going to say, don't know. Do you reckon the coach's talk beforehand is like particularly stern? Like there's not many eyes on this game, but just so you're aware, we are watching. Do not be the story, Perpignan.
Yeah, probably.
So far unscathed.
Let's get into those. There's a lot of rugby this weekend.
Oh, there really
Normally
is,
we struggle to squeeze in, Pro Day Dirt and then 7 top 14 games. Well, when all 14 top 14 sides have their own single game, it's pretty tricky to squeeze in. So we are going to focus on the big hitters, I think. And there was very few bigger hitters than Friday night. The top of the league in the Premiership, Bath, at home to 2-time winners La Rochelle, which you managed to catch some of pre-Baggate.
Well, exactly. I watched most of the first half of this, barring a few bits where we went through tunnels, dodgy signal. I watched most of this on the train. Yeah, it feels like another life, to be honest, before the bag went missing. So I'm reflecting back through rose-tinted glasses. La Rochelle were excellent, weren't they, in that first half? Really clinical. Like they took their opportunities, and I'm not going to say brave necessarily, but they were certainly punchier in their tactics, weren't they? They saw where Bath were kind of kicking sticks, and La Rochelle sort of went for the jugular from the real outset, and
It felt like
it made a
once
massive
they,
difference as
yeah,
soon as there
once
was a
they,
lead.
yeah. But it felt like in terms of their tactics, like once they saw an opening, they were like, right, we are going to go for it, because it was basically like a 20-minute period where they got into the 22 like 3 or 4 times and scored 3 times from it. It was very, I think the kind of a bit of a theme of the weekend was sides being clinical when they had the opportunity.
Yeah.
And La Rochelle kicked that off on Friday night. I think I was absolutely blown away by La Rochelle, I have to say. Like, just, I mean, it's not the thing that you kind of think of that often, but hard to remember like a so obviously like intelligent performance, if that makes sense. Like, just being smarter and more clinical, and just getting it right at the right times. It kind of really showed like an element of experience, and I think it's very easy to forget when they kind of lose to Van at home just how good some of those players are. Like Carballo, I still think is, top 3 Kiwi-born scrum halves in the world. Aaron Smith still rocking it. Gibson Park, Carballo, like, he's still amazing. He was absolutely fantastic in this game, and I thought him and Ehire West were just the way they controlled it. They just put people in them. They went at the right times, but I thought it took a lot from the pack as well. Like Aldrit was way sharper than he has been. I thought he was way better than he has been. Yeah, but they all seemed in sync. Like there was the kind of for one of the tries, there was kind of they were very hot on like gaps in the line out this weekend. I think because it was windy. But there was one where the penalty gets given, or free kick gets given. Tolulatu immediately passes to Aldrit. Aldrit immediately taps and goes, and then they're into it. Like it's happened so quickly. You never see a team from a line out free kick act that quickly.
Yeah.
I thought that just kind of epitomized just how sharp they were.
Yeah, I thought that first half they were really sharp. They almost played a little bit like a team with something to prove. I felt like there was just that level of aggression, and they really that first half in particular. Obviously, Bath came back into it pretty well, but they capitalised on some pretty big mistakes that were absolute killers from a Bath perspective. Like after the first try from La Rochelle, Russell just hoofs one out on the full, trying to do one of those kind of scudding restarts, and they just go down the other end, and straight away it's doubled up. And I think that, not to take anything away from them, but that early buffer of 11 points or whatever it was, and then I think Bath went for the post on their next kick, I thought just almost gave them that additional bit of license to go, you know what, if we get a sniff, it's not post today, we're going in the corner, we're mauling them. And the third try was so brilliantly worked, because it was the next attacking line out, wasn't it, after that maul, which was 20 meters, like to say, on skates.
Yeah.
And to then, have the balls to, recognise it's probably the one only period of play you're going to get with a dry ball is off the top of the line out, flip it off the top. The pickup and snipe from Carballo is
the pickup gets better every time you look at it.
So brilliant, isn't it? The fact he doesn't lose any momentum through picking the ball up off the floor. It's such a brilliant bit of skill. Yeah, they were, I think, and it always looked like that first half lead was going to be insurmountable, and so it proved. Yeah,
and it was basically that lead, I think. I think on the maul, I think it was actually because Bath got one back, didn't they? I think it must just be bloody hard in those conditions. A lot was said about the conditions, and I got home after a pretty long week, and I saw the weather, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, this is going to be rubbish. But I absolutely loved this game. I thought the skill execution from both sides was really, really good, and I think the only thing where the conditions really played into it was the maul, where I imagine once someone gets going, it's bloody hard to stop it because you haven't got any grip, and
hard around the goal line as well.
Yeah, and when those blokes are Antonio, Skelton. Antonio at that maul that is going at a rate of knots. Antonio is working so hard. I love, like, I don't know much about mauling, but you can see every now and then someone like at the front of a maul that is making all the difference and like that is why a maul is going forward so fast. And Antonio, I thought, was right in that big maul that kind of careered towards the line. I thought Bath were actually pretty good. I thought their kicking game second half. I thought de Glanville and particularly Russell. I think Russell is just how we were talking about Ramos being unlucky to not being in that World 15 of the year at fly half. I think Finn Russell is the best fly half in world rugby. Like, come find me on it. I agree.
No, I thought they were good. I think they'll be kicking themselves a little bit at a couple of those errors in the first half that gave La Rochelle territory more than anything else, and also their scrum went really well. Like, they undoubtedly had the nudge over a massive La Rochelle pack, which is pretty good going. I think, well, incredibly encouraging for them for the rest of the tournament, because you think they will get results elsewhere.
It kind of by the end it was like discipline, wasn't it? It was just the mistakes started to come in from both sides, and there was a period of like where it felt like every decision, it's like, oh, that could be the key decision that swings the game, and there was about 3 in a minute that was like, oh, maybe it's that, and it's kind of got a little bit sloppy towards the end.
Also missing Ben Spencer, who in that sort of game is probably the key man to miss, and Underhill to come back, Ollie Lawrence to come back. I think
Will Butt was real quiet. Will Butt was really quiet.
But I think that will easy to say after the fact, but they are relatively key players, not just because they're internationals, but because they do tend to just bring another level in a Bath shirt, perhaps that we haven't seen internationally. But fair play to La Rochelle. It was a great way to start the tournament.
And I thought Roger's interview was pretty spot on afterwards. He's kind of said he's more than pretty happy. He's like, I think the best team won. And he's just like, we were very accurate, which I think sums it in 4 words, sums it up perfectly. Like, he was not happy with the second half, but he's like, first half, we were very accurate. And that sums up the game, I think, to be honest.
Claremont, convincing over the dickheads.
Well, it wasn't the dickheads. They sent a pretty strong side, and they were just kind of... I kind of watched this while I was in the gym. It was kind of Mark Robson on commentary, the Marcel Michelin. There's just something about that. It was glorious.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. Quite a big fan of that volcanic kit. He was trying to say that it was leopard, but it's obviously an homage to the volcanic region. They were just too strong up front at times. Yato was great. Barnaby Massa, couple of tries. So much. Barnaby Massa is now looking like he's kind of fulfilling that potential that we hoped he might. Benji Odubajeta, still amazing. Not much more to say. Benetton are poor away from home.
Yeah.
And have been pretty poor this season. Claremont have been good this season. It was a pretty underwhelming win, to be fair, because they could have had a lot more, or should have kind of tried to put the foot down. And I imagine this weekend will be really similar for Claremont, because they've got a really similar opposition, really similar game. They go from Benetton at home to Leinster away. So,
oh wow,
I imagine it'll be a pretty similar result there.
Unless they all really, really despise Rabar Slimani, and it's some sort of some sort of vendetta. Like, it would be the biggest one ever if they can get one over.
Well, Michael Alatoa really hated his time at Leinster. Yeah, it's just like suddenly becomes
scores 4 tries.
Antoine Dupont, but also scrummaging like Winnie Antonio.
Amazing. What else happened? Talking of dodgy away form, as anticipated, Cast didn't send their finest outfit. A few names in there, weren't there? Like Arata played and a couple of others, but they got
the boy
duly dispatched away at
Northampton. They got as many non-GIFs as they could kind of chuck in there as well. I think a lot of those players I hadn't really heard of, I have to say. But we had a big outing for our man, pod favourite, Josiah Raisuke. So, do you want to kind of give, for anyone that isn't aware, do you want to give a summary on why he is a pod favourite?
Yeah, he's he's an incredibly exciting, if slightly erratic player in the most stereotypical kind of Fijian mould, right? But he, however many seasons ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, playing for Nevers, in Pro Day Dirt after the final whistle, got red carded for lifting the referee in celebration, a la the Lion King. I think there's a new Lion King film out, isn't there? Mufasa, like sort of prequel. So I think Josiah Rysuke has got a role in that as like chief
body double for Mufasa
lifter. He's
massive. Pardon my French. I hadn't quite like. He looked enormous in that game.
Well, he made that referee look very small a few years ago. But he is since then, right? Well, I say rightly or wrongly, as if you're allowed to lift up a referee, but still one of the best things that's ever happened in French rugby.
Best red card in all rugby.
Best red card ever. Yeah, and then he was up to his tricks this weekend as well, wasn't he?
It's basically the only bit of this. I was listening. I very briefly caught this on the radio, and I was like, I'm going to have to go back and watch this, just purely by chance, because he didn't make the highlights. So there's one bit, and it's the only bit of the game I've seen, where he basically he's probably in his own half, and he kind of Burkamp volleys kind of like round, like it's like he properly connects. It's just a volley. The ball's loose, and he just wellies it forward, and it kind of lands in kind of backfield in Northampton, and it's kind of skidding around. I don't know who it is tries to pick it up, but Rysuke is kind of charging forward because he's rapid. He kind of shoves over whoever it is. It looks like a kind of bully in a school playground, just being like, get out of my way. Hacks it forward again. He is a couple of meters from the try line after a couple of hacks forward. All he has to do is pick it up and dive over, and in the motion of the kind of combined pick and dive, drops it. It was
Legend.
Fantastically erratic because it had everything. It had some unbelievable flair. It had some real pace. It had some serious physicality as he swatted aside a couple of Northampton players, and also had the comical just dropping it over the line. It was spectacular. I could have watched it for hours over and over again.
Just great work all round. Well, yeah, Pollock was pretty awesome for Northampton from what I saw. I know there's a lot of hype around him, and he was awesome in the under-20s, particularly against France. But yeah, he actually looks like he might be something quite exciting for English rugby fans, skittling people.
Yeah, and a few. Cool. I guess we mentioned Massa coming through for Clermont. Lino Julien played for Racing this weekend off the bench. There's a few, and Noah Zinzin. So a few of those under-20s are coming through. Certainly on the England. Obviously, we've seen Asher Poku-Forger start for England. I wouldn't be surprised if Pollock will definitely tour over the summer with the Lions tour.
You'd have thought
He'll definitely go with England. Maybe a Lions bolster, who knows?
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. Like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You mentioned Racing there.
Yeah. Leads us on nicely to that game.
Good win down in Créteil. The Fortress Créteil.
Well, they're 4 from 6. I wouldn't call it a fortress. I thought they were good. I thought this was quite a good game. And also, I thought they were good. They were good value for it.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with them. I know you've been banging the drum for them that they've actually been pretty good. But did you catch much of this? Who caught your eye?
I saw a little bit. I thought Gilbert was great. And seems to be the possessor of some of the worst and best crossfield kicks I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like he puts it on an absolute sixpence.
And then knocked one out miles out.
Yeah, like backwards. He can sometimes do that one. Also, they're sort of, we mentioned Raisuk, but their fleet of Fijians were up to some serious mischief, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the try, was it just before half time? Was it Hambosi and
Naituvi scored the second try, which was after the bust through the middle from Tuisova, and
gets it away.
Then I think Hambosi kind of gets on the end of that, doesn't he?
Yeah, that was a
fantastic
fantastic try.
But also you've got Hambosi in the first half early on for that Legarrec try, who kind of charges down the wing and flicks it back inside to Woki.
Yeah, that was a lovely try.
Hambosi's rapid. Like, he looked great in that Toulouse game.
He's outstanding, so isn't he? I think I thought they were really good, and I know it's been spoken about a lot, and it's had a lot of kind of column inches or Twitter snide posts about it, but the fact that for however long they had Tuisova wandering out wide when he could have been at 12, like, when it clicks, he's just it's sort of men v boys, isn't it? And in this game, that try before half time, his burst it's a bit of a cheat code. Like, they struggled, I think, a bit, and they'd been under quite a bit of pressure, get a bit of territory, and
they barely had any ball in the first half, and then the second half was, I think it was like 2/3 in Quinn's half. Like, it was kind of a role reversal second half, but again, it was that clinical, like we said with La Rochelle, they were just clinical. They got the ball a couple of times, and a level of clinicalness, is that a word? That we definitely don't associate with Racing this season. Possibly back in the day when they had Finn Russell and Simon Zebo and all that lot, but definitely not these days. We talk loads about how Legarrec is their talisman and their key man and what have you. I think the bellwether player, though, for Racing is definitely Cameron Woki.
Yeah.
Like, when they look bad, he looks so bad. When they look good, he looks like a kind of verging on World 15 player that he was, 3 years ago now? I thought he was brilliant. He looked so good on Saturday, just back to his best, like link man play. Unreal. Like, we talk a lot about Makalu being a hell of an athlete to get in the air, but with Woki, like, they're getting him in the air, he's catching the ball, and then he keeps going. Like he's got like another foot to go before he's kind of reached the top of his jump. I thought he was just involved in rucks, in mauls, like all the physical, nasty stuff as well. Really glad that he's kind of back to some sort of form, because he is a really good player when he's and he has been terrible. So, as have Racing. So I think good Woki, good Racing is a key thing.
Big fillet for France as well if he can rediscover that form, because I think he could at his best can absolutely challenge for somewhere in that sort of back five of the pack. Great win for Racing. Before I let you loose on the Bordeaux-Leicester game, Toulon called it. Good win away at the Stormers, who I know are struggling with a few injuries. I don't know if you saw much of this. Villiers was unreal.
Yeah.
Absolutely melted Manny Libok, like old school melted, which was quite cool.
Poor old Manny Libok, who also got really melted by Yannick Guilloux. That was pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, no matter sometimes, like, there's just no matter the situation, like, someone on the team that gets the red card is like, it's just like Dave Ribbons just looked unhappy with that red card. It's like, mate, he has full on, the guy's bleeding from his nose, like, laid out on the floor. He's about to get stretchered off. That is about as red and reckless a kind of high shot. Well, it was certainly worse than Randranda on Cam Winnett.
Yeah, it was completely out of control. As were collectively Stade Francais, who
I've not seen any of this, and I didn't even realise until you messaged me what happened.
But they got thumped away at Munster, wearing their cool blue kit though, so that's something. But they in a season whereby they've downgraded, like, to get a red card, it essentially has to be like a egregious act of violent foul play. They managed to get 2. Which was pretty good going. Although one a little bit controversial, because the Santi basically goes to undertake a tombstone Craig Casey, but sort of pulls away with a bit of help from Omani, and Casey his head doesn't touch the floor, which is good because he'd probably be dead. But Luke Pearce kind of gave it on the act of just being unbelievably reckless, which is probably fair, but it was not a great day for Stade Francais.
Oh, what did you talking of like reds and yellows? What did you make of the Anyamwu on Diallo? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
He basically like Diallo's like trying to catch the ball, and it's kind of going away from him. So he's like reaching out and runs into Anyamwu, and he like flips over him.
Oh, I did see that.
He is almost vertical when he lands on his head. But I can't work. I think the right decision is made, but that it could quite easily be a red because he does kind of lift up. Like it's not just the momentum of Diallo that causes him to flip over.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're tricky, those. I think they always look worse than the intended action of the tackler, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I did see that. Go on. You've got 5 minutes to tell me about Bordeaux Leicester.
Well, the headlines I've seen on the Times, BBC was like Leicester blown away by Bordeaux, which
Ridiculous.
I think is a pretty harsh reading of it. Yes, they were for about 10 minutes after the second half, but Leicester were very, very good in this game. I thought, as a Leicester fan, I was certainly encouraged, but it was a bit of a shame to see them not, given that we got pumped by Sale the week before and we put the internationals into that game. I think it was a bit of a shame that we didn't go full noise. He had to Checker made a big kind of, I didn't realise, but I think he knew. And actually, the guys that came in, certainly in the second row, like Comjusan was really good. And Shilcock, I thought, was really good as well to come in for Pollard. I think
he's a great player.
He's really good. He's filled in really, really well for Pollard a couple of times now, where he's just like really controlled the game or just been really classy. I think they probably could have done, because also the scrum went really well. Like James Cronin absolutely cooked Ben Tameifuna. Like that was one-way traffic at scrum time. So it didn't even need Nicky Smith and Dan Cole. I think the player they probably could have done with at times was possibly Montoya, just for a little bit of nous, kind of did slip away from them a couple of chances late on in the second half. And they could have done with a little bit better, a little bit more accuracy. I really like Charlie Clare, but Montoya is just a different class, isn't he? And they really went for them. I think we knew that they would go for them at scrum time, and that Bordeaux scrum has to be a big concern because I think they conceded about 5 or 6 penalties against a second choice Leicester tight 5.
I did feel it was a little bit at times. It wasn't quite as conclusive as it wasn't like the scrum was on total skates, but they definitely got the.
Tameifuna was definitely going backwards. Like it was definitely Leicester on top. I don't think it was. There wasn't kind of that much signs of angling in or anything like that. I think they were going straight and they were going forward, and I think Bordeaux were struggling. I don't know how heavy like Johnny Gray is. Like, is that quite a lightweight second row with Gray and Petty? I don't know. They're massive blokes.
I'm sure. I think they just look a little bit out. I mean, Tameifuna. I mean, you wouldn't say he's like one of the he's not like preeminent scrummagers, but I don't know if he's just a bit short on club game time or whatever. Because it's like we've seen it does happen as well, but I was quite surprised at the frequency with which it was occurring, because he's not like a mug, is he? He's not like he's not Big Ben and he's just a bit of fun round the park. Like he's there for a reason.
Yeah. And he was great in the World Cup. Like if anyone needs any proof of that, he was one of the tight heads. He was probably, I think it was many people's team of the season. But Leicester went for them more than just a scrum. I think they went for them kind of round the park and played with loads of pace and kind of caught them a little bit cold. Yeah. And then it was just the second half performance, certainly second half, just the class shone through. I think they've just got so many weapons, Bordeaux, which we knew it was going to come. And you just can't contain them for that long. Luku won man of the match, and he was very classy. But some of the outside, but like Louis Bielbarré, it was just like it's now a case of like that Penaud one. It's literally like, there's a bit of space in backfield. I'll just welly it forward, and we will score a try. It is quite and we've seen it a few times now from Bielbarré. Deportaire was great, both sides of the ball. Like looks really good. I thought the player of the match was probably Pete Samu. I thought he was fantastic.
He was great.
He was cooked at the end. He was knackered.
Yeah.
But he still found himself in quite a nice place to like link up, draw and give for the Deporter try.
He was awesome.
But they do just have so many threats. Shout out for that Leicester, that Steward grab at the end, which is amazing. And Liebenberg, I think that's the other thing that concerns me for Bordeaux. It's like Liebenberg is a physical player, but he looks like, he looked like Marcos Kremer, like the way he was, or Pablo Matera, the way he was marauding around. Like, I think it was a little bit of concerns on the physicality, but they've just got so much pace and so much class. Like, Jalibert just looked so comfortable all game. He didn't look, I mean, his hair's immaculate, but there's barely a hair out of place, like in that game where they were up against it at times. It was a belting game. Go on then, Rich. I've kind of basically, we are a French rugby podcast, and I've basically turned us into a Leicester Tigers podcast there. What were your thoughts on the game? Maybe with a bit more of a Bordeaux angle before I talk any more about how good Freddie Steward was and how good Henry Liebenberg was.
Yeah, it was a strange. I didn't see all of it. I reckon I probably saw 3/4 on my travels back, but I thought Bordeaux looked a little bit tired and leggy at points, which for a team who were ahead was bit unusual, probably testament to the way they were stretched and you mentioned how quickly Leicester played, particularly in that first half. I thought there was it's probably a bit unfair on Leicester to say a bit of an inevitability, but you kind of felt watching that it was always going to crack into life at some point and that they would have too much. But I do think, particularly looking at Champions Cup rugby, it felt like a similar thing to a little bit with less riding on it, what happened when they played Quins in that sort of last 16 game or last whatever it was last year, where it felt like they would kind of crack into life, but they just couldn't quite keep them at arm's length enough. And I think it was as good as Leicester played. I think it was a little bit too easy at times in that first half. It was the first thing they went to, they scored, and for all the brilliance of what they can do going forward. And we've seen them defend so well. You mentioned Samu. I thought he was unbelievable, particularly kind of turning over the ball and how judicious he was at the breakdown and his selection of when to go and when not to at the ruck. Like, anyone can have a bit of a rough game. I still think they're an outstanding side. The scrum is a worry. I particularly think, actually, although it was all game, I think their replacement props are a real concern, because as much as he did get a bit of a dusting, we've seen Tamafuna scrummage well before, we've seen Poirot scrummage well before. Sometimes you have a player and you just can't, like, for whatever reason, you've never seen them do anything good, it seems. And
like me with Kalashvili for them last year.
And this Carlu Sadie, I've never seen him anything but get dusted and just give away ridiculous penalties.
Yeah. They can't. It's Falatea. They can't get him fit. Falatea has basically has played about 3 games in the past. Well, since the World Cup, I think. So
something like that. But I think that is a real problem. But for all of that, they can rip the best teams in the world apart in the blink of an eye. And I think it is the right way for them to go. And it was great to see Deporter back after his suborbital head
fracture,
breaking, whatever it was.
So look at some of the players that didn't play. Like, they've still got like Boschton, Gazzotti, Mathieu, Falatea. There's still so many players.
Buros,
really. Buros, Kaza,
which brings it together. I think someone like Buros, he does bring that back line together quite nicely, doesn't he?
What do you think of LBB at 15, though? I quite like it. It means he's in the middle of the pitch, which means that those tries that he scores, he's there. I don't necessarily know if he's there if he's playing left wing.
Yeah, I don't know. They've been at their most successful with them on the flanks generally, haven't they? And Buros at 15, but
Retier, they didn't have Retier before. He's playing some great rugby.
He's good, isn't he, Retier?
Well, they did have Madosh Tambwe, who was also a legend.
So I don't quite know. I don't know if I've learned more or less about Bordeaux in this game, but they still won relatively comfortably.
We've got confirmation yet again, kind of like we did with the Saracens games last year, that backline is electric and it can tear people apart, and it doesn't need much opportunity. That's the big thing, I think.
Yeah,
it doesn't need that much opportunity at all.
I think it's also just one final note on that is the the frequency and the speed with which they can score. Like they can genuinely score 4 tries in 8 minutes if they want to. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter, and you're never going to be out of a game when you can do that. So
yeah, but it was very similar to that how they turned it around against Van the other week, like 3 tries in 8 minutes or whatever. Final game, which I've not seen. I've basically found where the tries were and watched the tries of the Toulouse game.
Yeah, I've only seen bits of it, but it was one-sided.
Like it was.
What I did watch.
It looked like they barely. It looked like they were at 75%. Like. They just look like completely different athletes to me, to Ulster, just generally.
Yeah.
Like when you've got Chocobaro's not renowned for his pace, just streaking away and looking absolutely rapid. I think it was a bit of a non-event, really, this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know much about Ulster, but I know they're not the force they were, and particularly away from home. So yeah, I wouldn't be too scathing of them. I think Toulouse. The bits I saw, they were just dominant on like another level that teams don't really get to that often.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, Miafu was everywhere, flopping over the line, basically unstoppable.
What I'm hearing you say, though, I think your view on Miafu, Rich, I'm putting words in your mouth here. You reckon Miafu's a flat track bully?
Yeah. Big
and
flat track
bully. You'll say it to his face as well.
Yeah, I would. I'm like,
actually, I reckon he's a nice guy. I reckon he'd just chuckle. I reckon he'd chuckle and then flick you away with a finger.
He's looking pretty tasty at the moment, isn't he? Yeah, he's a bit of I think you said it before, when he gets the ball in his hands, he can be a bit of a cheat code.
Yeah.
He was immense. Cheat codes, like we don't need to say it again. Dupont was freakish. Like
you said Dupont joke. What was the thing that you thought was?
Well, I just thought
you can't dial it in and say Dupont was a joke. Like, you know, we're better than that. We're not Jonathan Edwards and Brian Moore. Come on.
Well, I think
give me something.
If you give it the level of consistency, the number of involvements, I think he 4 try assists.
Yeah.
I think there's one where he makes the breakthrough running about 25 yards backwards, and then I can't remember who it was he put through a hole. But also against the backdrop of those conditions, it was like soaking wet. And that, at the very least, usually brings a dominant game down to a 35 or whatever it is, rather than putting 60 points on a side like Ulster. And he was at the heart of all of that. I think there's a stat. It was the most carries ever made by a scrum half in a Champions Cup game or something like that. It's just astonishing number of involvements in a game that 50-22s just quietly off the base. Like,
crossfield kick was amazing for Capuozzo as well.
Yeah, just so many involvements. It's such high quality in actually really difficult conditions. It's remarkable.
The player I want to shout out, just because he's unheralded otherwise, he's Toulouse's 4th choice centre. I think Pierre-Louis Barassi is playing some really good rugby at the moment.
Yeah.
Amazing
he's
to think
great.
That he is genuinely their 4th choice centre. And I think he looks great at the moment. Runs hard, tackles hard, looks pretty sharp. Nice hands.
Yeah.
Well done, Pierre-Louis. Next weekend.
Yeah.
Next weekend is underwhelming, I'd say. There are fewer of those kind of... I think the 3 games that I watched with real interest, the kind of Bath, La Rochelle, Racing Quins, and obviously the Leicester UBB one, those felt like beforehand, this is going to be a good game. Whereas I think we've got slightly fewer of them generally, let alone from involving the French sides. What kind of takes your fancy?
The ones that I think could be quite interesting, and maybe looking elsewhere actually. So I think Sale Racing could be quite interesting. Sam James Derby. Same time, obviously they were awful last week, but Cast at home to Munster. If Cast put up, a proper team at home, as you'd hope they would do,
I imagine they will. Yeah.
I think that could be a great game.
I think that could actually, if they do go full noise or something approaching full noise, I reckon they could actually win that, because Munster haven't been great this year.
100%.
I reckon they could win that, and there'll be loads of people who'll be like, "Oh, Cass don't care, Cass don't bother," and I reckon they could put 30-40 points on them.
I completely agree. I think they're a great side, and at home they're a really strong side. It's just yeah, we'll see. That could be interesting. I don't think Clermont are going to get too much out of Leinster away.
The bechamel sauce is back. Is that what you're saying? The form of the sauce for bechamel sauce.
The sauce form is back. And the other one, which I think could be quite interesting, is Toulon hosting Glasgow.
Yes,
because Glasgow are a really good side. Good win over Sale at the weekend. Obviously, they're the URC champions, aren't they? And they're not gonna send a Shags team to Toulon. I wouldn't have thought off the back of their they're a pretty ambitious club, I think. So I reckon that in terms of both potential sort of tightness of game and overall quality is probably the one to keep an eye on for me.
Yeah. And I'm at a wedding in Glasgow at the weekend, so there'll be. I mean, he's not really a rugby fan, so I don't think he's denied too many of his mates a glorious trip to the south of France. Annoyingly, no Provence game on Friday night, or they're away on Thursday, I think, to Dax, and then Carcaron, Le Crau, RIP. Well, there'll be a game, but it'll be Sunday afternoon because they're in Fédéral Trois or whatever they're in.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, no double header option for Glasgow fans. But you've spotted a double header option for Saracens fans.
Yeah. So Saracens play on the Sunday
afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you've got a couple of options. Friday night, if you want to go really rogue and spend the evening elsewhere. I think it's just over an hour away to Rouen, up in Normandy. Rouen play Bourg-en-Bresse. After losing at the weekend, Rouen, after their properly gave them
don't blow your load on National yet. I want to keep my National focus all together,
all
mate.
Right, fine, okay.
But Rouen are top of the league. They are top of the league.
If you can't think about two things at once,
yeah.
So Rouen are playing Friday night kickoff. Apparently, a beautiful city, hour away on the train. So give it a whirl. Hour and 20 minutes, €9, the cheapest train. Though I can't actually see it in front of me. They're mostly about 25, but doable. Closer to home, Suresnes, both also in National. They play on the Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Suresnes play Narbonne, so big club,
good
big hitters, not too far away. So that would be my recommendation if you're a Saracens fan. Obviously, the biggest, one of the biggest cities, best cities in the world. Far be it from us to offer any recommendations to people going to Saracens, but we were there a couple of weeks back. You got stuck there longer than you'd hoped. So where would you be sending people?
If you are travelling into the Gare du Nord, which many of you might be on the Saracens on the Eurostar, there is a really, really good wine and kind of small plates or charcuterie bar called Le Vin. So Le Vin as in to make bread or to kind of like yeast, I think it is, and Le Vin as in the wine. So it's Gare du Nord, not renowned as a place to have loads of nice places around it, but it's literally just down the road from it. You can see it. If you're sitting outside in the sun, which we were in mid-November, which was glorious, while the sun was out, you can see the Gare du Nord. So yeah, I'll try and get a few snaps up of that on social media so that people know. For you, Rich? Maybe slightly further west because you were around there. You were nearer the Jean Point.
So, I mean, there's so many fabulous places in the centre, aren't there? But a little bit further west. So we stayed an area called Passy, which there's a really nice kind of covered market, like a
called where? Sorry, I guess Passy.
Passy, yeah, Rue de Passy, not too far from the Eiffel Tower. So yeah, really nice covered market, very typical of provincial French towns, Les Halles, but not hugely typical of Paris. Lovely like produce. Really busy on a Sunday morning as well. I'd imagine probably a bit going on pre-game, and it's only, I think, including the walk and the metro, it's like 20 minutes from Stade Jean Bouin.
Wow. Okay.
There's also the whole really good Breton creperie in there. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the only cafe in there. You'd spot it, Breton cider and crepes. So yeah, that would be cool if you're in the area. Also around there's like a massive sort of flea market, Bracant, that they put up for Christmas. So if you're a bit of a David Dickinson type individual and want to go and buy a few knockoff watches and some secondhand Hermes handbags, then that's for you. Yeah, and otherwise there's just about 4 billion places to have brilliant food. Maybe we'll stick a few of them up on the socials.
You can do a little Twitter post and I'll Try and get it on Instagram. I reckon Stag could put a decent side out. Paul Gustard, I think, is slightly invested in that game, just more generally. But
yes, definitely.
I still think they'll lose, but they might put. I wouldn't be surprised if they did win and they went, the Macalunatics will be out in force. I reckon Macalou will play. We might see a bit of Leo Barre, a bit of Carbonell, a bit of Brad Weber.
And we haven't spoken about it, but Exeter are going to smash Toulouse on Sunday.
Are you going to that game?
I don't know. I've got a ticket, but it's getting back looks a bit tricky because of the late kickoff. So I'm umming and ahhing. I feel like I probably should.
Can't invade your old university hall and go and work from home and
No, I think that would be fairly inappropriate. But we'll see. We'll see. Late decision to be made on that one. I don't know if you saw that. Actually, we'll save it for the Petty Fours. There's quite a good bit of social media from Exeter on that you might enjoy.
Okay, let's get into Pro Day Deux.
Pro Day Deux. Right, Pro Day Deux, let's do it. What caught your eye? What are the sweeping narratives of Pro Day Deux that oscillate week on week? Where are you at this week with it?
Big news in this round 13. Grenoble are fallible. They lost away at Stade Montois. I think I kind of previewed it by saying I think my full-length preview didn't quite make it out off the phone. I was a little bit too busy last week. So there was some really great analysis that never made it to air. Mont-de-Marsan seemed to be the most unpredictable side in Pro Day Deux. They are capable of some pretty good wins at home, certainly. And away, actually. They look at where Saxby are. They beat Saxby away and capable of just being really, really crap. And they were good in this game. It looked a pretty good performance against a pretty strong Grenoble side. The Magician of the Mountains came off the bench. He didn't start, Sam Davis. But Barnaby Kuyu scored a lovely, lovely try, which I think will be on if you look at the Pro Day social media, in the awesome. Top 5. Really nice break from the winger there. And interesting, like Mont-de-Marsan, probably the best of the rest. I think we were kind of talking about last week, kind of Dax are just clinging on, and then Stade Montois in 9th. So they are kind of the team that's possibly emerging from the bottom half of the league that could do something, because they are up and down, but there is an upward trend in their form, I would say. And I think good for the league that Grenoble did lose away from home, even though they did pick up a bonus point. The other big win to join them at the top of the league, Brive edged out Béziers. I've not seen much this game, but I know Courtney Laws had a pretty epic game. The big news, I guess, is the best team in the league away from home.
Yeah.
Saxby, our boys, wearing the hat with pride. 4 wins and a draw away from home in what must be 7 away games is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's outstanding. They've been awesome.
And they played they got out they were 27-8 up against Montauban. And Montauban have been really good this season, especially at home. Saxby just played some good rugby. Like Ben Botica, our man Benny Botts, with a great intercept. Still got some gas as well to get there. But he kicked his goals. They're just looking, and that was not a full noise team. Like they didn't go complete out and out. And Montauban, Joshua Visi scored another brilliant try. He seems to be doing lots and lots of flair things on the left wing for Montauban. No green hair at the moment, which is a real concern for me. I think that's no green or yellow hair. It seems to be kind of quite plain, which is a worry.
That is concerning.
I thought Joshua Visi was a bit of a, like you were saying with Raisuke, kind of a bit of a comedy up and down for GM, but he seems to be, especially because he loves joining the back of mauls. I think that's an amazing, the hair and the fact he loves joining the back of mauls. Yeah, but he's
that try is hilarious because there's when you talk about properly leaving defenders in your wake, there's like this stream of bodies everywhere trying to clasp at him. It's well worth a watch.
I think I said to you a few weeks ago, like I watched that Lomu documentary. And I was a little bit skeptical. Like, was he any good? And you see him like running at full
Was he any good?
Well, no. Like, was he like overhyped, or is it just a couple of tries that were amazing? But actually, got quite a lot of it is him just running, being gas and being massive, and like stepping people. And there was an element of that, just a massive bloke just being really quick. And also when he scored his try, his shorts were pulled down the full way, which was also sensational. I don't think we get full frontal though. And the big game next week is the Ben Botica derby. We were messaging him about it on Instagram. They go away to Oyonnax, who lost again.
Remarkable.
They
It's
now
just-
sit in 15th place.
Yeah, they've got what, 2 more points than Nice, who came up.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah,
who,
they are 1 point behind Valence Romance.
It's like, I mean, we've given it plenty of airtime. It's remarkable. It is absolutely extraordinary. I did actually in the week. This is going back a couple of weeks, so apologies if this is old news. But I think we mentioned they lost narrowly to Valence a few weeks back.
Yeah,
and I said there was like a missed drop goal or something at the end. Well, they actually slotted the drop goal, but then like a really niche offside penalty was given from the like 4 phases earlier from the line out before. I saw it crop up when I was
like advancing beyond the 10 sort of thing.
You couldn't really work it out because there was no commentary, but it was just one of those things where he'd slotted the drop goal, ref's hands up, they're running back to restart what I assume would be the final play. And so I don't know if there was any of that sort of carry on in this game, but pretty convincing for Argent.
There was a great try from Iban Echeverri set up by our man Rosbeef, by a couple of Rosbeefs. Jack Maunder off the base going blind, and then Billy Searle showing some real gas.
Yeah.
And a lovely Schistera, as is all the rage these days, the out the back flick pass, doing his best Antoine Dupont impression, and he basically like parts the Red Sea for Iban Echeverri to run home. Really nice bit of play.
What's the I want to take you on a bit of a tangent here. What's the name of the Basque sausage? That's not Schistera. It's something similar.
I've got no idea.
Oh, that's going to really, or maybe that's
no idea what you're on about. I think you say, is it Echeverri? Because
No.
that's Iban Echeverri is
no.
a very Basque name.
It is. The Basque sausage is the Schistera.
Maybe that's where it comes from. That's your homework for the week.
Yeah.
Rich. See if we can find out some more.
I knew that I wasn't making that up. I have to check the spelling, but there we go.
The other big result in this league, very quickly. Good result for Colomiers, who turned around a bit of form. I called that, but Provence got pretty close. One is like
point.
De La Vega, the bloke that plays 10 for Colomiers. In his Pro Day 2 official photo, he is an absolute ringer for Rafael Nadal. If you go on if you ever look at the team sheet on the Pro Day 2 website and you look at, I think he's Juan De La Vega or something like that, the guy that plays 10. He made the team of the week in Rugby Roma. He's an absolute ringer for Rafa Nadal. But Nevers, who I was convinced were going to lose away at Nice. It's a bloody long way to go to Nice, and Nice's home form is a concern. To lose, certainly to lose to Nevers, who I was backing to end the week bottom of the league, for them to go away and beat Nice, that is a concern. They have been quite good away from home, but they aren't picking up wins away from home. They're kind of getting close. And if you can't win your home games in Pro Day 2, you are done for. Because that was partly why Montauban was so bad last year, and partly why Rouen clung on for so long, was because they were actually really good away at home and Montauban were rubbish. So that's why I got quite close. Whereas Nice are really struggling. I think they've only won once at home or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I think they've got 2. I'm pretty sure 2 away wins. They beat Mont de Marsan at home, and the other ones they beat Argent away. And who else did they beat away from home? Aurillac. But fortunately, Oyonnax are keeping them interested. There is one very exciting game this weekend, I'm sure.
Other than the Ben Botica derby.
Other than the Ben Botica derby, which is obviously the one that the TV rights will be after. Proper top of the table, Friday night, 9 p.m, up in lights, Grenoble Brive. Nothing to separate them. Stade des Alpes. Yeah.
And Brive will probably send the Shags, and it'll probably be like 40 points to 10.
They haven't tended to do that too much this year, though, have they? So
it's hard to know. They've got such a good squad. It's basically whether Laws plays and whether Cohen Bosch plays, basically, is whether they're kind of sending the Shags. That's any team that hasn't got Laws, Bosch, and maybe like a Sam Johnson in it. I'm saying that's generally like a weakened side.
Okay.
Carbonneau and Furto seem to play quite, or maybe like Carbonneau gets benched every now and then. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I really hope they do go full noise, because that could be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, definitely.
Grenoble will be keen to bounce back, and they will go full noise. You'd imagine like Sam Davis on the bench because he was being rested.
I would have thought so. elsewhere. Give me one more that takes your fancy. Dax at home to Provence could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Provence tend to go
Yeah,
away.
but France don't win away. So
No,
and Dax got the pack to match them. So
they're
Dax will win
within
that.
a point, weren't they, on Thursday? So
Bezier Montalban's the one that catches my eye. Could be some great rugby in that. Both teams play some brilliant rugby, and Bezier especially when they get cooking at home. And I think Montalban will want a couple of defeats in a row now, so I hope they pick that up. That Montalban stash is so good. I really like it. The kind of dark green with a bit of gold and black shorts is really nice. Deserves, especially Bezier's pretty rubbish kit. So
a few points. Okay. We sort of alluded to it a moment ago. Should we go over the shenanigans of National this week and then come back on a few petty fours?
Go on, Rich.
It was all go. Couple of crackers on the Friday night. Very tight games. Albi scraped past Bourg-en-Bresse 26-22. Massey, Parisian side, got a good win away at Tarbes 27-22. Who I think Tarbes sort of every time they seem to be, not pulling clear, but finding themselves in a good position, tend to lose at home. So fair play to them. Big news mentioned earlier. Rouen lost at home to Périgueux, 9-19. Not even that close. Suresnes, who we've shouted out, could be an option for any Saracens fans. Lost to Carcassonne. They played Narbonne at the weekend. Narbonne, who beat Stade Longonnaise 2014. Chambéry, top now. Beat Marcon Baruel. Yeah, they've snuck up to the top of the league. I think they picked up quite a few bonus points. Whereas
4 away wins out of 6 in the last weekend.
Yeah,
that's mad.
Yeah, it's proper work. That
proper long away days as well. They're not even like local.
Yeah, there's anyone going up to
Massey to Tarbes a long way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a decent stretch.
Carcassonne to Suresnes.
Well, I mean, Hier to Rouen would have been before they. that is something else. So yeah, Chambéry top of the league, a point ahead of Rouen.
No wonder they went bust if they're having to do that
all
that
the
trip
time.
quite often. Yeah.
And that's about it of note. Not much movement elsewhere. Throw a tea towel over all of it. It's fascinating.
Go on then, let's go petty fours. I can link into that.
Petty fours, what have you got?
Massey were away at Tarbes, as you mentioned, and Tamu Amanu, Poe player, popped down the road to Tarbes to watch former Poe player Siegfried Fisserhoy play for Massey. And I think he scored a try. So yeah, I quite like it when they go and watch their former players, their teammates. I don't know who Macavinapola, I assume he was watching. I don't know who he was watching when he went to Quinn.
Maybe just arranged to go and see Owen Farrell play.
Yeah, maybe.
But he's not.
Also, just on Mont de Marsan, they were obviously inspired by their super fan in the crowd. Teo Atasogbe was there again.
Was he?
Yeah.
Looking for a gig, is he?
Oh, maybe. I hope not. While we're on Pro de Deux, and the team that is struggling is Oyonnax, but they do have, it has to be said, a stunning, and this is absolute Instagram goals. They've got a stunning Instagram feed in that they've matched it up. If you go on Oyonnax's official Instagram, they've matched it up so that each 3 blocks of photos sets up its own photo. It's really quite something. So they might be crap at rugby and crap at defending, but they are brilliant at putting together a montage on their own Instagram feed.
And that's the real quiz these days.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. They might end up in National, but they'll have 1 million followers on Instagram. So well done them. Go on, Rich. What have you got?
Well, looking ahead to the game this weekend, the big one, Exeter Toulouse, of which I don't know if there could be some double headers going there, maybe Taunton Titans or something like that. Lovely bit of work on social media from Exeter Chiefs. It says incomparable, and then it's a little emoji of a goat, and it is Antoine Dupont and Stu Townsend and some comparative stats.
Go on.
And it's gonna give you the if Exeter don't win after this, then I don't know what to say. So four key stats: minutes played for Taunton Titans, Dupont none, Townsend 921.
Wow.
England under-20s caps, Dupont none, Townsend 8. Irish international fiancés, Dupont none, Townsend 1. Hole-in-ones at Teignmouth Golf Club, Dupont none, Townsend 1.
Oh,
which is excellent.
your double header, Rich, this week is actually quite a good game. You could nip down to is it Penzance where Cornish Pirates are, or is it Truro?
Nip down,
That's
Penzance.
a 3 hour train from Exeter
Menai,
to
Menai Fields, yeah.
they are at home to Coventry. Good game that.
Oh wow, yeah,
Coventry are
that's a
top of the
banging double
championship.
header.
Yeah.
That is a
There you
very
go.
good
Not
one.
just French rugby long weekends we do here. Have you got anything else? Are there any more Stuart Townsend
No,
stats?
no, I think that's it. But you want more, really. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
put a few more out through the week. My only other thing, a little bit of transfer stuff seen. Quins have been denuded of a couple of their second rows. So Erne Hurst has gone to Brive, I think, immediate effect.
Oh, I didn't know.
And Dino Lamb's going to Perpignan next year.
As a medical joker this season,
Yeah.
apparently.
Oh, is that this year? I thought it was. Yeah. Oh, well, maybe I've got that wrong then. Perhaps I've got maybe one of them's immediate. I don't know. They're going.
Well,
they're on their way.
I heard medical joker, and actually Jamie Lyle on commentary said that he could be off to France as a medical joker somewhere. Just
There
while
we
we're
go.
on nines, UBB are still in the market for another 9 after Les Gorge has going to Biarritz next season. There are rumours of John Cooney, which feels interesting from an age profile perspective. Martin Pajarello, which would be my pick of these 3, or Tate McDermott, which would, I mean, he's a hell of a player, but I'd be surprised. I guess post Lions, he could come over to Europe. There was actually an article on, and it was behind their paywall on their premium version of Rugby Rama, about the intense game of musical chairs at scrum half in French rugby. And I was trying to think of the other ones. So you've got those UBB rumours and Les Gorge going to Biarritz. You've got Le Garec to La Rochelle, Carbonneau to Racing 92, Herschel Yankees to Bayonne, Tawarika Barlow, which we didn't mention a few weeks back, to Stade Francais. Arata was rumoured loads of places earlier in the season. And I think Machino might be moving. He's also rumoured to go to UBB because Bayonne have signed Yankees. I think Rouet is still there, or he's been extended. And they obviously signed Baptiste Germain last season. So Machino wanting to extend his career, which is a shame because he kind of went, but it was a bit of a homecoming for him and Lopez, wasn't it, to go and play down in the Basque Country again.
I think if you're good enough and you're enjoying it, like I think that's pretty cool, though, isn't it?
Like Mike Brown going to go to Leicester. Talking of players entering the twilight of their career, I saw on Rugby Pass. I actually feel like a better player now than last season. If I got the opportunity to go to Australia with the Lions, I'd be buzzing. Who was that?
That was.
He'd probably still make a Lions back row.
Courtney Laws, I'm assuming.
Yeah, which would be quite cool. He's surely the first player to come from Pro D2 to represent the Lions.
Yeah,
surely.
Maybe. I feel like there's so much quality in that 6 area, isn't there? But
he's still so good.
Yeah,
he's a 7 now, mate. It's up him versus Willis.
Yeah. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Starting
the
Lions
only
back
other
row.
thing, that would be quite funny if it was Laws Willis back
Simmons
row.
at 8.
Yeah.
The England back row we never got.
Yeah. Obviously, it's nearing Christmas time, and the bechamel sauce, the saucer of bechamel sauce, Christophe Urios was promoting his wine and a few special events at the chateau that he owns.
Of course he was.
Were being hosted. So I don't know I can't remember the name of it. I was about to say, go check out so-and-so if you want to go and taste Christophe Urios's wines. But yeah, I can't remember what it was called. I'm sure if you want to taste Christophe Urios's wines, I'm sure you can find it.
Well, we'll make sure we track down where you do that before that Bristol trip to Claremont. That would be a good. I've
got a feeling it's miles away from Claremont. I think it's near Bordeaux.
I wonder if you can source any of it. You must be able to source some of it in Claremont.
Yeah, you'd imagine so.
Just Christophe, can I have a bottle of your red, please? Go straight to source.
And I'll have a sauce. I'll have a tub of bechamel sauce while you're at it.
Oh, what a guy. I was reminded of you mentioned the other day that amazing Christmas jumper with Christophe Urios on.
Oh, it's so good. We've got to get it. We've got to get that up on social media. It's just so good. With all these Christmas jumpers that have come out, there's not a day that goes by where I see a piece of new stash and people are like, this is the greatest bit of stash I've ever seen. I still always think of the Christophe Urios as Father Christmas Ubebe Christmas jumper that I saw in a shop. I think it was like €80, and that's why I didn't buy it. But I regret it every time. Every time I see new stash.
Yeah, he looks like a South Park character. It's so good. Oh, amazing. one, I know it's not petty forward strictly speaking, but the winners of the Challenge Cup play their first ever home game in Europe this weekend against Gloucester, which could actually, talk about fixtures to keep an eye on, could be a real good one.
And Sharks then. You're talking about Van.
Yeah, well, Leicester and Van, they'll be there, won't they? That could be a really good game. Leicester home to Sharks.
Could be.
Let's leave it there. You can follow us on Rob
X or Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads. Not yet Blue Sky.
Not yet Blue Sky. I haven't made any moves on that yet. Apologies.
We are at Rosberg's Rugby on all of those, and please subscribe to this, subscribe to YouTube. Give us
get in touch.
Get in touch.
Get some.
And we want to hear about
tales.
your trips if you're out and about in Europe this week.
Yeah, very quick one on that. Actually, shout out. I did see Josh Rice, who I think follows us. We exchanged a few messages with. Plays for London French. Went to see Bordeaux, Leicester, and then went to see Andy Carroll playing for the Girondins in the fourth division of French football.
Yeah, nice.
Fair play. Great work from them. Right, enjoy the second round of European or Champions Cup, Challenge Cup, whatever you want to call it, action this weekend. It's going to be another beaut. I've been Richard. That has been Rob. We've been the Rosbiff Rugby Podcast. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.